Hello, and welcome to the Pixel Perspective Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adrian, alongside my good buddy, JJ. How's it going, JJ?
What's up? I'm super excited to be here.
As you can tell, man, I've got a little bit of a cold, so I'm feeling a little bit off today.
You got that
I don't know if you can see it in my
voice,
eyes.
so it's all good.
I feel like my eyes are kind of like sickly looking, but I'm okay. I'm okay. What you drinking? I feel like we're on the Jabcast right now. This is like
I'm drinking a Hopfish IPA. You know what? One of the things I really liked that you guys did, and it's super corny, but I thought it was just a really fun idea, is when you would pair beers with games. I always thought that was such a neat little idea. Like, it was like completely arbitrary and didn't really mean anything, but I was just always like, oh, it's so fun. I don't know. I just always thought it was a neat little thing.
Well, the funny story about that, when Ryan and I were talking about doing the podcast, I'm kind of the video game guy and he's not. And I think that's made pretty evident when you listen to the podcast, but he's really into beer and he's
good at conversation though. Even if he's not like fully into a subject, he can go back and forth with anybody. You can tell that. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it was fun talking to him, but in order to try to make the podcast relatable to the both of us, we did the segment, the beer segment where we would talk about what we were drinking. And he had this idea of trying to pair it with a video game. And I was like, man, you are asking a lot of me right now.
I think it's great. I thought it was just fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally we managed to do it. After I hit it off with him for the first time or two and kind of got a feel for what he was, how he was doing it. It was kind of easy after that. And it was fun. So yeah, that was fun. I'm also having a beer tonight. It is a gluten-free beer. It's called Earthrise. And it's from a brewery called Neff. They are based out of Tulsa. And the cool thing about that is they only do gluten-free beers. And for people who are gluten-free, like myself and my wife, it is a very awesome brewery. So anytime we drive by Tulsa, we have to stop by and get some beers.
You drink that, you just can't get a Neff. I'll show myself out.
So let's get things kicked off here and let's talk about what we've been playing. I know you've been playing a lot, so
I have about it. Like a whole lot. So I finished. I don't know if I mentioned last time, but I finished Suikoden Tactics on PS2.
Yes.
Loved it. Thought it was a lot of fun. We did talk about that a little bit. I also finished Phantasy Star 4. I've got a review that will be coming out soon on that. I've got all the footage. I haven't written the review yet, but I know what I'm going to say. Let me preface, I'm not going to tell you like my thoughts on or anything like that, but for me, it had a lot to live up to. I am a big fan of Super Nintendo RPGs, Final Fantasy 2 and 3, Chrono Trigger, Secret of Evermore, Secret of Mana, all those kinds of games. That is my bread and butter. That is like my favorite time period for gaming. That's where most of my memories are. And Phantasy Star 4, The End of the Millennium on Sega Genesis, is lauded as being up there with those games on the Super Nintendo. And that was really hard for me to believe after playing 1 through 3. Not that they were bad, but they were nowhere near as good as like those other games on the Super Nintendo. So whenever I would hear that and everything, like you gotta play 4, it's just as good as the other. I'm like, we'll see when we get there. So I decided early on I was going to do a review on it. And I played it and I beat it. And it's a good game.
Is it?
It is. It's a really good game. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give my full thoughts in the review, obviously, but it was a really good game.
Well, let me ask you this then. For somebody who has only dabbled in the series, such as myself, would you recommend just skipping the previous entries and going straight into 4 to see what it's all about?
If all you want to do is just play the game, sure. Yeah. But it does have some references that I thought were really cool to the previous games. You'll kind of get a little bit of like flavor here and there, like a statue of Alice from the first game, or you'll hear about one of the planets that exploded in a previous game. You'll hear about the ships from 3 as you kind of go through. And so if you've played those other games, it's just kind of like a callback to where you're like, oh yeah, I remember, that was fun.
Yeah.
If you haven't, then it's just, it's additional story that isn't going to mean as much to you, but it's still cool. Do you have to play the first 3? Absolutely not. You can still have fun with this. It's a good time. But I think it does add to it if you have, and you can definitely, it's like playing The Witcher 1 and 2 before playing The Witcher 3. If anybody, watching or listening has done that, the upgrade from game to game, it's that much of an increase and that good of
That's a good way to put
bump
it.
in quality. It's just really, really cool. So,
Okay.
yeah, I really,
Did
really
you
enjoyed the hell out of it.
did you play that on a classic console, mini console?
I played it on the Genesis collection on PS4. That way I could record the footage.
Okay. Okay.
So, and then on my PS5, obviously, but it's a PS4 game.
Oh yeah, that is on there. So I could play that on my
Mhm.
Switch. I've got that Genesis collection as well. Very cool. Very
Absolutely.
cool. I might have to
That's
do that.
got 2 and 3 on there as well.
How long is that game?
I want to say it was about 20-ish hours.
Okay,
like
that's
that.
a good length. Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't bad at all. Yeah, I will leave it there.
I'm looking forward to the review.
But it's
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed the hell out of it.
It's been a while since you put out a review, man. So I always look forward to those.
I'm going to get this review going, and then I would like to do one more before the end of the year, and it's more than likely going to be Dragon Quest 11.
Oh, cool.
Because I am up to that point in the series, having played 1 through 9 now, because obviously 10 we didn't get here in the States. I just finished 9 as well. That is the next game I was going to mention. Just finished 9. It was fine. You can tell that it's very, very multiplayer focused. They want you to play with other people. It's got a lot of the old school elements as far as like you make your own party and stuff, which is fine. But the fact that they had so many games leading up to 9 where you had characters that joined you that had character, you actually got attached to them and you learned about them and had their backstories and everything like that. And these are just characters you create and assign a job to, and you're done. Or you can play with other people and have them join you and whatnot. So it was good, but it wasn't as good as some of the others in the series. 8 and 5 still are the 2 best that I've played. I've played them all, but the 2 best in my opinion. With 7 close by. I thought 7 was really good too. But the things I've been hearing about 11, I'm super excited to get into. I mean, Platinum Bro, perfect example. Like he's a trophy guy and stuff, and he was even just like, dude, this is an amazing game. You have to play it. It's so good. Yeah. So I'm excited to check it out, and I think that's probably what I'm going to end up reviewing before the end of the year.
Cool. Yeah, that's a
long game.
Beastly undertaking. That's a long game.
Yeah. And then I have been playing, obviously, Final Fantasy 14. I've been doing a lot of stuff on there. I won't bore anybody with the details because it's just been a lot of grinding and preparing for the next expansion to come out. Super excited for that. And I started and Wild Arms Ultra Code F. I've been playing as well. It's not what I expected, and I'm enjoying it, but I really like the original 1,000 times better. Right. They've just changed so much that it's a completely different game, and I'm like I don't know how I feel about it yet. And that's probably my own fault because I went in expecting it to be like a remake of the original, which, it is in certain regards, but they just changed a lot about the combat, about equipment setups, skills, the Guardians, everything. It's pretty crazy, but I'm only about 10 hours into it right now. So I'm still working my way through that. So we'll see how I feel at the end. And then last night, yeah, that I started,
it was, yeah.
Dark Souls 3.
Yeah. Getting into that.
Yep. First boss down. Took me 2 tries, and I'm just happy to have my axe back and do what I got to do. It feels good to be back into one of those games again.
That's awesome.
I never thought I'd say that either about a Dark Souls game.
We have a converted.
I'm turning into a fan. Yeah. Because if you go watch my review on the first one, which is my entry into the series, I'm just like, this game is just so punishing and I don't know how I feel about it, all this stuff. And now I'm just like, I find myself, a small part of me, I'm just saying a small part, wanting to go back and replay the first one again. Just because it's like, now that I have the controls down and I understand, how to do things and how to fight, and I want to see if my mind changes. But at the same time, then I just think, dude, Sen's Fortress, and I'm like, oh no, nope,
Yeah,
nope.
Yes,
nope.
Sen's Fortress, man, that was a pain. Honestly, I'm glad to see you coming to the dark side, if you will.
I am enjoying the hell out of it. Yeah.
And I'm super stoked to jump into this as well. I did try to get started last night, but then I had something come up, so I couldn't finish it. But we will be able to jump into this again soon. And
hopefully this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely want to get back into it. The thing is, and I told you this last night, you were asking me how much I remember of the game. I remember just about as much of this game as I do of any of the other ones when I start playing them again. And it's just like, when I jump into it, like Dark Souls 3, for instance, when I got into it, it's like, okay, I remember the first boss, and I remember kind of the area before you get to the first boss. And then everything after that is kind of a blur. Like, I remember bits and pieces, but I don't remember the flow. I don't remember what was first and what was next. And I don't remember all of the bosses. I remember some of the bosses, And so it's going to feel kind of like playing it again for the first time for me. And that's how all the other ones have been for me as well. With the exception of 2. I think 2 is the one I played the most. So I have a better idea of that one. But 3, I only played through that once. And I played through that back when it came out in 2016. So yeah, I'm excited to get back into it and experience that all again. And that's kind of the wonder of playing Dark Souls is for me, is the exploration and the wonderment of exploring that world.
And you're really? Are you gonna? Is this what we're doing now?
Yeah, he's running around circles, man.
He's talking up a storm over here. What's up?
Oh, I can't hear him. I just saw him run pie.
Okay. Yeah, no, he's been. I heard him downstairs, like he was just. Wow. I closed the window on him, so you probably saw something outside.
Nice.
All right, buddy. We don't want to hear the bugs while we're on the show here. I'd invite you up to come say hi, but you'll just run away again. Is that all you've been playing? Is like 30 seconds of Dark Souls?
For me? No. I've been playing a little bit of a few things. The main game that I've been sticking with is Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna in the Golden Country, which you also finished.
I finished that. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I went through it so quick that so I went to Vegas, and I went for 4 days, and I plan on bringing my Switch and just playing Torna there, like taking an afternoon or something and just going ham on the game while I was there in the hotel room, while I was unwinding and hiding from the heat and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I started it the Friday before I left. I left on the following Monday. And I just got hooked, and I beat it over the weekend in 2 days. So I was like, oh, okay. So I ended up taking Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest 9 instead, and playing that while I was out there, which worked out better because I didn't have to lug my Switch.
Yeah.
So it was nice.
Yeah. So I'm playing through that right now. I'm really enjoying it. Like I knew I would. It definitely made me, considering I just finished up Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, and then now I'm going back into this and re-experiencing what Xenoblade Chronicles 2 did and how much it improved over the original gameplay wise. This feels like a pretty big step up from Definitive Edition Xenoblade Chronicles, the first game.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it for that. I'm also enjoying how in-depth the storyline is. These games are really, really heavy on story.
For a spinoff, yeah, it's like pretty damn impressive.
It is, and it's interesting too. And I want to find out what's going on. It's also nice to kind of revisit some of these characters from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And the game takes place before the events of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they have a lot of like memory scenes or something, like flashbacks. So you do get to see some of these characters in that game, and then so now you're getting to play through their story, and I'm enjoying them quite a bit. Like the characters are really interesting. The prince, is it Prince Adam or King Adam? You know who I'm talking about? The blonde headed guy. He controls
I don't know if that's his name, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
I think it's Adam. Pretty sure it's Adam.
it might be. There's
But
definitely an Adam in there.
he's the driver for the main
Yes. Yeah.
character from
right.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And I'm drawing a blank on her name. Do you remember?
The blonde girl.
Yeah.
Mithra.
Mithra, thank you.
Yep.
So it's cool to see Mithra. She's kind of the same character, but not, and it's kind of cool to see her interacting with Adam because she's real brash and kind of mean and bold, and Adam's a very nice person, and they have it's just the characterization in this game is really appealing to me, and
I like the cast in this better than I like the cast from Xenoblade. Honestly,
it seems more mature, more adult in theme, and I appreciate that.
I would like to more likable, quite frankly.
They really are. Yeah. I would like to see, like, if there's a Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I would like to see a more mature storyline, kind of harken back to the Xenogears storyline and stuff like that, because I feel like that's what this is kind of doing in a way.
If I could get a Xenoblade X remaster first on the Switch, I would prefer that.
Really?
Yes.
I couldn't get into that game, man. I didn't feel like the storyline was really good.
Brian from TFN, him and I, we absolutely just fell in love with that game. He did everything in there, 100%. Wow. Like, went balls to the wall, did everything, got all the best stuff, coasted through the end of the game because he did so. I didn't do that much, but I still loved it. My biggest issue with the original Xenoblade was I loved the exploration factor and I loved how big and vast the world was, but I hated how slow it was and how long it took to get from point A to point B. Everywhere you're just running on the ground, and so it takes so long to move around. But then in X, they give you these giant mechs that you can, create and design and like color, and it just made it so much better to be able to fly around these worlds or these continents in this world that just was so lived in. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The music was hit or miss. Some of it was great. Some of it was meh. The characters and story were fine. It was pretty boilerplate. But the exploration in that game is if I ever did a top 5 exploration focused games,
really,
that would be on the list. I all but guarantee it. Yeah.
I kind of want to try it again. Like, I didn't get very far in that game. I couldn't get a good grasp on what I was supposed to be doing. I think it didn't. I needed to hold my hand a little bit more than it did, and that's kind of weird coming from me. I don't like hand-holdy games, but the mechanics of that game were complicated, and I don't feel like it was explained very well. So yeah, I would love to. I'm surprised actually that we haven't seen a re-release on the Switch yet.
Agreed.
I'm pretty sure that it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of time at this point. But I do feel like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 does a really good job with exploration as well. The lands are a little bit smaller, and there's something to see and something to pick up everywhere. So it's just I find myself, especially with Torna, I find myself doing a lot of just running around, picking up different loot points, I guess. I don't know what you call them, and just trying to collect a bunch of different stuff. It is fun for that.
Yeah,
that's what makes those games unique. Actually, most other RPGs don't have this exploration factor that the Xenoblade Chronicles games do.
I also like how the really high level monsters and stuff are mixed in with the others. So you're running around in a giant area and you're level 10, but then you see a level 40 giant giraffe looking thing that is guarding a chest or something. You're like, oh, I'm coming back for you at some point, buddy. You just wait. And eventually you take him down stuff, and it feels so good to go back and feel powerful in those areas. I love that. I think it's great.
Yeah. The only other thing I've been playing is Monster Hunter Stories 2. I'm still I've been alternating between that and Torna. That's why
the game or just the demo?
No, I have the game now. And
oh, cool.
Actually, My brother has the game, and I'm borrowing his copy because he's not quite ready to play it yet. So I'm gonna buy it when it gets cheaper. But
hopefully it does, man. If it goes like the first one,
not. Yeah, it may not. It may not. It's such a good game. I did though get the amiibo for that game. I went to a GameStop.
Yeah, I knew that. You did say that. Yeah.
I went to a GameStop and they actually had some there, and I went there the day that it came out. I didn't realize it when I was there, and I was like, "Wait a second! I know that these are going to be hard to get," so I went ahead and got them.
I am literally like, when it comes to amiibo, I only get characters that I love. There is one left that I don't have that I want. I take that back, 2 at this point. One would be Kirby. I would like to have.
Kirby.
And oh, cool, thanks. And the other is the Advent Children Cloud. I didn't jump on that in the beginning when I should have.
I have that one too.
So yeah, I wish I would have. Those are the 2 that I want. So
I wish I need to take a picture and show you my wall of amiibo. It's pretty extensive. I built this shelf to have plenty of space for all of my amiibo, and I don't have any space anymore. Like I've got some Monster Hunter ones sitting here, not on a shelf, and I got to build another shelf for them. It's pretty crazy. And I have those other Monster Hunter ones that I just purchased. They're still in my closet because I don't really have anywhere to put them yet. So, but I am going to use them for the game when I get to that point when I need them. They unlock costumes and stuff for your character, so I definitely want to get that.
Yeah, I knew nothing about the Monster Hunter Stories games. I was just Monster Hunted out, and then you mentioned they were turn-based, and I was like, huh?
I'm actually surprised you didn't know that.
Had no clue. As soon as I heard Monster Hunter, I was turned off because I'm normally not into those games. So I was just like, I don't need any more of it. I'm happy with what I got. And it, like, to me, it sounded like it was going to be just a single player focused Monster Hunter, which to me, the fun part is the multiplayer. So I didn't really care that much. But when you said turn based and you're collecting monsters and stuff, I'm like, oh yeah. So
it's more story focused too. So it's very it's a very JRPG cross Monster Hunter. I love it. It's great. That's it. So why don't we get into this? And I failed to mention what we're going to be talking about today at the beginning of the show.
Mention it right now.
We'll just talk about it right now. We are talking Nintendo 64.
Yes. 25 years old this year.
That's right.
25, man. God, 25 years ago that system came out.
25 years ago. Okay, how old were you 25 years ago? Let's kind of put ourselves back in that place again.
I don't want to talk about that. I was 13.
13. Yep, me too.
Yep.
13 years old, dude. That's crazy to think about that system came out so long ago.
That makes me feel even worse. 13 years old and I couldn't figure out the stupid joystick. Oh my God, I'm such a loser. Ugh.
What's surprising to me is I thought I was older when that system came out, but I guess I wasn't because
I thought I was younger, quite frankly.
Really? Yeah. I remember, and I know I've told this story before, and please remind me if I have, but when my first experience with the system, actually, there's 2. Walking through a Sears and at the mall.
2 first experiences with the system.
My first exposure to the system.
I literally saw it in your eyes, like loading.
What happened was I had one idea in my head, and then as I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, wait a second, that wasn't my first experience with the system. So
fair enough. Okay.
I'll talk about my first exposure to the system, which was at Sears, and they had a display set up with Mario 64 running on it. And I remember passing by that and I'd already seen it in magazines and stuff before that point, but it didn't really do anything for me. I wasn't super excited about it. 3D gaming was still a new concept to me. I'd already had my PS1 by this point, and I was cool. It was cool with what it had, but at that point in time, it really hadn't wowed me yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wasn't too excited about this Mario 64 game, seeing just still frames on the magazine. But when I got to that Sears and saw it up on the TV screen and saw what it actually was, it was mind-blowing. It really, really was. Like nothing I had ever seen before prepared me for what I was looking at. And it was
Mario.
it was so different. Exactly. Like there's and people have said this, and I am 100% one of those people. There has never been a game, I think, that has blown me away more than Mario 64. It was such a vast difference from what the types of games I was used to playing from that point in time.
Yep.
And the concept of having a fully realized 3D world and a fully 3D Mario playing in this similar type of game that I've already been playing in 2D. I've already familiarized myself with the 2D plane and platformer. Seeing a 3D platformer just was crazy. It was mind blowing.
Quite frankly, the closest, like, at least in my gaming experience from what I played, the closest game that I played to that prior to Mario 64 coming out that had any kind of like hub world where you're just, you can play around, do whatever you want to do in the game. And then eventually you go into the paintings and the secret areas and that kind of stuff. But you have that centralized, the castle and the courtyard and everything, and even underneath it and stuff, the graveyard. The closest thing that I can remember prior to that was literally Mega Man and the starting screen where you just choose whichever level you want to go to.
Really?
Obviously, is not even a comparison.
It's not.
Can you think
How
of
did you
any other
make that?
games that have any other hub worlds like that prior to Mario 64?
I mean, nothing comes to mind. I see where you're going.
I'm not saying there aren't any, but that was the first like really noticeable one where I was like, holy crap, this is damn impressive. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, I just figured I'd
Oh no, you're fine, man. You're right. Like for me, seeing this and seeing I didn't know the expanse of how you could explore yet. Just seeing this demo, I didn't. There was. I don't think I got to even play it while it was there because there was other kids around it playing it already, and I didn't have a whole lot of time. But I did watch them play, and it was just I was just blown away by what I was seeing. From that point on, I was like, you know what? I already have a PlayStation, but I really want a Nintendo 64 just for that game. Just for that game. No other game. I just wanted to play Mario 64. I wanted to experience what this game had to offer. So, I mean, my first real experience with the game, and I know I've told this, was with my buddy, Joel. And we went to Walmart one night with his parents, and we were over playing the Nintendo 64 in the Walmart. Or actually, we weren't playing it. They had a demo display, but I don't think you could play it. And we were looking at it, and we really, really wanted it. And we were talking it up. And I remember his dad came back to get us after they did their shopping. And we were like, Joel was just like, this thing is so cool. Check it out. And he was looking at it, and he's like, yeah, it's cool. Reaches over. It was on an in-cap display. Picks one up, puts it in the cart. Off we go. Like it was like a no big deal. Happening. Yeah. And I remember looking at Joel and him looking at me and being like, this is really happening. He's really going to buy this. It was like the most exciting moment. And it wasn't even me or it wasn't even my Nintendo. It was his, but it was the fact that we were getting ready to finally play this,
sure. Yeah.
And I think I was spending the weekend over there or something. I used to stay with him all the time. He would come over to my house all the time. It was just, him having the system was just as good as me having the system, essentially. Because
because I can completely relate, because my first experience, I've talked about my first experience with it when I went to Best Buy. They had the display. I couldn't figure out the thumbstick. And so I was just going to get a Saturn because I played Nights into Dreams on that. And I was like, I can control this works. But I couldn't figure out how to use the damn thumbstick because I was trying to use the D-pad to control Mario, which you can't do in Mario 64. But months later, my cousin got a Nintendo 64 and he showed me how to use it, and I loved it. I still got a PlayStation first. I had the PlayStation. Another one of my cousins had a PlayStation as well. And my cousin Craig had the Nintendo 64. So if I ever wanted to play Nintendo 64, I'd just go to his place, and that's where I got to play it. Eventually, his Nintendo 64 is what became mine. Funny story on that. When you're kids, you make promises that there's no way you can keep. He wasn't playing his anymore. This was like a couple of years later, and he offered to sell it to me for $150. And I didn't have the money at all. I had $20 in my pocket, and that was it. And I told him, yeah, I'll get it to you at some point. Sure. And he's like, okay, cool. So I gave him $20. I honestly did have full intent to pay it. I was working at the time. I was like 15 or so. And so I plan on just, doing like installments and stuff and giving him money.
Right.
My dad found out about it and was like, no, you don't do that. You pay him the full amount, and he just paid for the whole thing, gave him the money and called it a day.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, I know you're trying to teach me a lesson, but you literally just got me pretty much a free console. Like, thank you for buying that for me. But the guilt did kind of rip into me a little bit. So he got me on that point. But I got Mario 64 with it. I got Cruising USA. And I don't think there was Star Fox 64 was the other one that I got with that. He just didn't use it that much. But those are the games that he had. Otherwise, we would just rent stuff when we went out and whatnot. So once I had the console, though, that's when I would go out and I would get the games. And I love the Nintendo 64 library. You talk about a jump from, like you were saying, how you'd never seen that before with Mario 64. That jump from 2D going into 3D. The same thing was with Zelda. I mean, you're talking about Ocarina of Time coming off of Link to the Past. Like, Link to the Past is an amazing game, don't get me wrong, but it's still top down, looks just like plays like the original, looks a lot better. But then you go to Ocarina of Time and you're in this massive open world, which is just, it was mind-blowing. It was absolutely mind-blowing. And just the jump was spectacular. Then you get in Majora's Mask as well. I mean, Donkey Kong 64, completely and totally underappreciated game in my opinion. I love that game so much, and
that's
I
surprising.
love Donkey Kong Country. Oh, I loved it. I adore that game, like, wholeheartedly. Donkey Kong Country, I played the hell out of it. I loved it as well. And going from the Donkey Kong Country games to Donkey Kong 64 was a massive leap as well, because you had these big 3D environments as well. And you could play as the different apes, and there's just, once I got that system, there was just like, there's something about Nintendo aesthetics, the box art, the titles themselves, the colors that come out, it's just so appealing, and pleasing to the eye. Everything is, it just, anytime I think about those old Nintendo consoles, I just smile, because it just really, really just, I sound like a cheese dick, but that makes my heart glow. It's, I love it.
I'm right there with you, man.
Cheers,
especially
Nintendo.
That's right. I didn't actually own a Nintendo 64 until maybe, I don't know, 7-8 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I never had one. So my experience was, my nostalgia was with my buddy's Nintendo. So he had Mario 64, and I remember playing through that, and our goal was to get to all 120 stars, and I never did, but he did. And I remember just watching him play the game, and I was perfectly okay watching him play, which is that's not a very characteristic thing for me. I like to be the one in control, but I enjoyed watching him play that game. He was definitely more skilled than I was. And so I had a hard time with getting through areas, and he made it look easy. But then again, the whole holding the controller wrong, I did the same thing. I was holding it with my hands on the outside, and I was reaching way over with my thumb to move the joystick.
A lot of people did that. Yeah.
He had to tell me, he's like, dude, you got to put your hand on the middle stick. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense to me. Yep. How do you get this button over here? He's like, you don't need it. You don't need to. I was like, all right.
Have you tried doing that recently on a Nintendo 64 controller?
Yeah. It's still
my hands just feel like monsters on those controllers. Like, it just, I'm like, I must have been like so tiny back then, because I feel like I'm just
that's true. That's
giant gorilla man grabbing this thing.
Yeah. So he had that. He had Mario Kart 64, obviously, is one that we played a ton of. Oh my gosh. I think we played more Mario Kart than anything else. That was just a regular for us. That was one.
I never owned a Mario Kart game until the Wii version.
Oh man, really? You missed out on so much.
I played them all. I played them. I had friends and relatives who had all the other ones, but I never owned one until then. Yeah.
Mario Kart is such a staple of my childhood. It's one of the, and it's funny because I never owned either one of the games in my childhood. Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo was one that another one of my friends had, and he had a new Super Nintendo. I didn't have one. So going to his house and playing Mario Kart was, I mean, dude, we played that constantly. It was playing battle mode and just racing. And we never got sick of it. And I loved that game is very nostalgic to me. Well, that carried over into Mario Kart 64. Mario Kart 64 improved almost everything over the original Mario Kart.
Especially having 4 people.
Yeah. So we'd always do 3 players at least. It would be me, Joel, and his brother Matt. And we'd play over and over again, doing battle mode and just regular racing. And we would get super competitive, man. Like, it was always, there was always a lot of yelling and screaming in fun, not getting mad at each other,
sure.
but just completely having fun with who's going to win this next race and who's going to get first place in the circuit, and who's going to win the battle mode. We had so much fun with that game. And that was one that I enjoyed playing because I felt like I had a competitive edge against him, even though it's his game and he had more experience with it. I had more Mario Kart experience, and it felt more natural for me to play that over something like Super Mario World 64. So
yeah,
that was a ton of fun. He also had, I think he had Star Fox. I didn't play too much of that one. Another one that's super nostalgic to me.
I love Star Fox. No, I love Star Fox so much.
I don't know
Star
if he
Fox
even had that.
So good. Ugh.
Tell me your experience with that one then.
I played the hell out of it. I've beaten it many times. I didn't have a save card for a long time, so we couldn't save like our progress as far as like the levels you would go to, because you can save a path that you went on and then do a different one next time and whatnot and try to beat your score, I think. But it's like, I remember when I found out you could unlock new characters and stuff, and have them join you, was really cool. The 3D levels, my God, those were so much fun, where it was just a big open battleground and you're just doing dogfights with another 4 ships. Problem is, I loved the multiplayer so much and nobody wanted to play it with me, because I played it so much that I just got really good at it, and everybody was like, no, it's not fun, like, because you just win every time. Like, and I'm not like saying that to like be condescending or like that's legitimately what happened. It made me sad because I wanted to play more, but I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do worse on purpose because it's not fun for me. I was actually going to say there was one other game that I got from him as well, and that was Shadows of the Empire, Star Wars.
Yes, that was the next game I was going to go into, actually.
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell your experience, and I'll tell mine.
Have you tried going back to it?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Ooh,
the game wasn't. I don't remember the game being
rough.
great to play even back then, but it's especially rough now.
I have amazing memories with that game. The first level alone, doing the Hoth battle and
that was the best
in
level in the game.
So many times I would just do that level and then be like, oh, you know what, I'm done for the day. That's it. The other levels, I wasn't crazy about the first person shooter levels, and you could do third person as well, which anytime I saw somebody do third person on that game, it was weird to me. I was like, I don't know how you can play like this.
I didn't know you could do first person. I thought it was only third.
You can do first person. That's the only way I played it. It looks really, it was just really weird because the controller is kind of like, if you jumped, your guy would kind of like swing to the left a little bit, and there was a little bit of that lag. It was just odd, and I couldn't do it. But if you played in first person, everything was 1-to-1, and it was great. But the Hoth level, and then the any of the aerial, the spaceship battles and stuff like that, I loved doing that stuff too. It's just, and especially when it came out, I had just finished reading the book too, so I knew the characters, I knew what was going on. I adored that game so much. And like I said, when I tried going back to it years later, I was like, ooh,
yeah,
good.
It doesn't play well.
And the problem with the first person, the on foot levels, I guess the best way to say it, they're so long. Like the ship levels take like 15-20 minutes. Then you get to an on foot level, and some of them are like 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh really? I didn't realize they were that long.
Oh, it's brutal. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I'm sure you can like speed through it if you know what you're doing, but casual playthrough, it's insanely long.
And they're not easy either.
No. So it's but just because I have such amazing memories with that game, I freaking love it. It's good stuff.
Well, he had that game too, and that was around the time that they re-released the original trilogy in theaters. And I was all about Star Wars, man, just obsessed. And I loved playing that game. The thing is, I would only want to play that first level, the Hoth level, because that was the coolest freaking level. Like, I am taking control of one of my favorite scenes in one of my favorite movies, and that to me was all I wanted.
Absolutely.
And being able to tie your grappling hook around the legs of the AT-AT and circle around it and bring it down, it was just so fun.
Yep.
But I could not do the on-foot levels at all. Like, not even a little bit. I couldn't do it. We always played in third person. I didn't realize it was first person, obviously, but it was rough because you had to shimmy yourself. You had to actually turn yourself with like the shoulder buttons, I want to say. I don't remember. And it was so completely awkward that I just could not grasp the controls.
Watching people play in third person, I was just like, I don't know how you can do this. This is insane. The only weird thing about playing in first person was like, and this isn't even like that big of a deal because you get used to it in 30 seconds. But so like in most first person shooter games, you're looking at it from the POV, and then you've got your gun out in front, and your gun is shooting wherever you're aiming and stuff like that. There's no gun. You're literally just looking at the screen, and you just see the laser come out of the front of you. Weird. And that's it. So it's a little weird at first, but you get used to it pretty quick. But yeah, the first person is the way to go, in my opinion, in that game.
Well, I would always watch my buddy play it. Again, that was another one of those games that he was just really good at playing it. And I just wanted to see the progression through that game. And I couldn't do it myself.
But there's a lot of epic stuff. Like that Boba Fett fight is fun.
Yes, I was about to say.
Really cool.
So the Boba Fett fight, I remember he got stuck there, and he must have been stuck there for at least a week. It seemed like a long time to me.
Wow.
And I remember going over there, and we would just over and over and over again try to beat Boba Fett, and he couldn't do it. And then, you know, as the weeks went by, he called me and said he finally beat Boba Fett, and that was just like we were both excited, so excited about that. And so I got to go back over to his house again and see the levels after Boba Fett, and it was just cool. Yeah, I have a lot of really deep nostalgia with that game, even though it's not a great game and I don't care to play it today.
Right,
there is a lot of nostalgia,
but it is the memories associated with it are fantastic. What about Wave Race? Did you ever try that?
Oh my gosh, Wave Race. Yes, I love Wave Race.
I guess so. Okay.
I almost forgot to bring that one up. Dude, yes,
that was iconic when it first came out. That was a big deal when the N64 first came out. Yeah.
That was one of the games, again, that he had. He had a lot of good multiplayer games. This is one of the things that I always envied about the N64s. Like, I had my PlayStation, and it had a lot of really great single-player experiences, but I didn't have any good multiplayer games.
Yep.
Whenever I went over to his house, every game he had was multiplayer.
You know, with the exception of couch co-op focused. Big time.
It was so cool. Like, I knew going over to his house, we were gonna have a good time. You know, whether we were gonna play Wave Race or Mario Kart or Goldeneye or any of the others, with the exception of Star Fox. Star Fox, I want to put myself in your friend's place. I could not play that damn game, and every time we tried to play it, he would just dominate, and it just wasn't fun to me.
Oh,
so,
I loved it.
But yeah, like Wave Race, dude. Wave Race was not an easy game to get used to either.
No, because I mean, the navigating the water and getting used to how it controlled and turned and trying to recover from getting hit by waves and that kind of thing. It was a little awkward at first, but it was also really satisfying when you went off like a sweet jump and then you hit the water and kind of dip down and come back up.
Yeah. That game was so fun. I remember that one had a pretty steep learning curve for me, but the music was super nostalgic in that game for me. And the sound effects and, the announcer voice and when he would announce the different areas, the sounds that the game makes when you miss the buoys, or whatever the sound is. And just, God, that game has a lot of nostalgia for me too. But we had a good time with it. And the most memorable stage to me, besides the first one, the Dolphin Bay or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
The last one is it's got the water the water level goes down or goes up. I don't remember which.
It changes. I know what you're talking about. It
changes. I had never seen that before in a racing game. That was so unique.
Yeah. Yeah, really cool.
That game. What you got next?
You mentioned another big one a minute ago.
007, Goldeneye.
Yep. Yeah. Goldeneye. Actually, that would probably be the big one for most people, I would think.
Yeah.
Other than Mario 64, maybe. But Goldeneye was pretty much the Wii bowling of its time. It didn't matter if you were a major gamer or into the console wars or any of this stuff, or even had played too many video games beforehand. If you knew somebody with a Nintendo 64 and you tried Goldeneye, you were hooked.
Yeah.
Everybody loved that game, and they all had their own favorite modes to play on.
Yeah.
And getting 4 players together. This is just really quick side thing. This is why it would be so amazing if the Switch started doing Nintendo 64 games. They have multiplayer that they're adding into Super Nintendo and Nintendo games that didn't originally have it. Think about these 4-player games. If you could like implement the online with that stuff, that would be unbelievable. Man, it would be so great. I'd bust out Star Fox 64 again. But it's like, anyway, the main reason I think of that is because when I think GoldenEye, obviously the single player is amazing on that. It's a lot of fun too. I must have played the facility 1,000 times just trying to get that 100% silent every single time coming out of the vents, and then trying to make it to where every single person you kill does not hear you till you get to the end of the level. I just loved that level so much. But getting a group of people together, I was in theater in high school, and so I did a lot of whenever we would do a show, we would have a cast party afterwards, and there was always going to be a Nintendo 64 with GoldenEye. And so we always just, everybody would line up, and you would have 3 people or 4 people playing. Winner stays in. The other 3, it was either the winner or the top 2 would stay in, and the other people would cycle out. And I mean, there were times when I just wouldn't even leave the seat. I would just sit there because I was doing so well and winning so much. And I just, this is me just admitting how much of a dork I was and how much I loved these games and played them on my own. But when Perfect Dark came out later on, which is, the spiritual successor, my friend Matt completely annihilated me on that game when it came to it. He was so much better at that one, and I kind of like had to relinquish the crown at that point to him. And that game's amazing too. So GoldenEye and Perfect Dark both are spectacular. Perfect Dark is a little rough. Well, I imagine GoldenEye is too, but because I played it on the Rare collection on Xbox One, and I was like, oh, it's a little tough to. Actually, most Nintendo 64 games are, quite frankly, at this point.
Right.
But the memories, and at the time when it came out, it was all mind blowing. So
yeah. We played a lot of multiplayer on GoldenEye. That was another one where we would have a good time, just death match. But that game, to me, like what made it so special was we had never really seen a first-person shooter on consoles before, and I didn't know that it was a thing that you could do. Like, I think there was some on the PlayStation, but you didn't have the analog stick. Yeah, the analog stick was such a game changer as far as like how you control your character. And I'd played Doom, I'd played Wolfenstein, Duke Nukem, all of those on a PC, and it just makes sense on a PC. But on a console, it just didn't make sense, and I couldn't figure out how they could make it work, and they did.
I think a big reason that it's tough to imagine on a console working with a first-person shooter is strafing was really hard to do back then. And that's what the people who are really good could do. And with the N64 controller, you could control your moving all over the place, but then you had your C buttons for strafing, and it was really, really easy to control that way. So I think that was a big reason. And GoldenEye was the first game that I can remember that implemented that and did it so well. That game was just mind-blowing.
It was just fun, like playing. I mean, it's a thing that people are familiar with now, but playing it's like a game of hide and seek, with guns. And so that concept was a lot of fun to us, and we had a ton of fun playing that game.
For sure.
Let's see. Another one we used to play a lot was NBA Hang Time. You have no experience with that one? This one is like a spiritual successor to NBA Jam. And we used to play this game constantly. Like he and his brother were big time basketball fans. And so we would go over. I would go over there and play with them, and I ended up being a big time basketball fan, just feeding off of, first of all, this game, but also like their enthusiasm for the character or for the basketball players and everything. And, you know, I grew to have my own favorite team, and we would put in the codes for big head mode and, you know, all the different codes that you could do in that game. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun playing a competitive arcade style basketball game. And I think NBA Hang Time is better than NBA Jam. Throwing that out there.
I said it. What? Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I
never really got into that. As for the closest thing, like I played Madden. My buddy had Madden 64. And so I have a lot of nostalgia with that game, just playing it with him. But it's freaking Madden. It's just football. But did you ever play WCW NWO Revenge?
No, I was never into wrestling. My buddy was. He had wrestling games.
That is the best wrestling game I've ever played still to this day. Granted, I haven't played a lot nowadays, but it's so good. And I've talked about it on the show, or at least on my channel, where I used to whine and cry because my buddy was so much better at it than me, and the only way I could win was by going out into the audience and grabbing like a trash can or a chair or something and beating him with it. That was literally the only way I could win. Otherwise, he would just tear me to pieces every time, and he would eventually just be like, "All right, fine, go get one," because I would just whine. Yeah, but WCW NWO Revenge is spectacular, and just creating your own wrestler is a lot of fun.
I think I did play that one. That one sounds like one that they had. And I remember it wasn't one that I was into, so I would more watch them play than play it. I just wasn't into wrestling.
Rogue Squadron.
I don't have an experience with that game. I have it now, but I never played it then.
Oh man. If you like the first level in Shadows of the Empire, that's the whole game basically, is just piloting and flying around, and it's a blast. I never got to play the sequel, but the original I played the hell out of, and I love that game. Blast Corp. Did you ever play that?
Nope.
That's on the rare collection as well.
I played it. Well, I played it now, but I'm thinking back then. Like,
okay.
Yeah, it's not one that I played then.
It was. I mean, literally, you're just trying to destroy stuff and get your high score and destroy as much as you can within the time limit. I tried to play it on the rare replay collection, and I was terrible at it.
I didn't do it.
I think it was the controller.
Really?
Because the N64 controller, when my friends showed it to me, because I never owned the game. I do now, but I didn't at the time. My buddies owned it, and they showed it to me, and they were like, "Here's how you do this, and here's how you do it." And they were showing me on the controller what specifically to do, and it just made sense at the time. But trying to play it on this, not really my thing.
I played it on the rare replay just to see what all the fuss was about. I remember that was one that was a big deal, and I couldn't get it.
Not your cup of tea.
What about Cruising USA and Cruising World? Did you play any of those?
Cruising USA. Yep. I love that game.
That was another one we played a ton of. I really
actually Cameron. Cameron, who's been on the show before, has a dual Cruising USA arcade setup.
Oh wow!
Like 2 sit down, in his basement. I haven't gotten the chance to go over there and check it out, but he's got that at his place.
Man, you need to go check out his little arcade he's got going on.
I have before, but he changes it every 5 minutes. Like,
really?
He always I'll get a message. I'll be like, "Hey, this guy what do you think I should do? This guy wants this for this," and I'm like, "Oh my god, you just got that like a week ago." And he's like, "I know, but I can probably get it really cheap if I go to this guy over here who wants this other thing that I got." I'm like,
he's willing to dealing.
Oh, big time. But the thing is, if you were to do the math on everything he spent for that stuff, he would come out in the green. Like, really? he gets stuff really cheap because he knows how to fix it up, and he knows how to actually make it look good and stuff. He's working on a Ninja Turtles cabinet right now. And it's on his Twitter. It looks beautiful, the artwork and everything. And it's just like, man, it's so cool. He keeps mentioning wanting to do a YouTube channel, and I'm like, dude, do it, man. You can. I'll even film it for you if you need me to, and whatnot and stuff. And
he really needs.
We just haven't got a time worked out, but he's got such cool stuff over there.
He's into a niche hobby that I think would be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Cruising USA. The thing about Cruising USA is I loved the arcade machine. One of my favorite. Same thing with NBA Hang Time. The arcades were a lot of fun, and NBA Blitz, or not NBA, NFL Blitz. Those were all games that we would play the heck out of in the arcades. I remember going there and
Yep.
just pumping quarters into those games. I loved them. And the fact that the N64 was really the only system that could play these games. Like my PlayStation couldn't do it. But he had them. He had those games, and I would go over there and play them. And to me, those were every bit. That's when I started realizing, hey, home consoles are starting to catch up to the arcades now. You know,
Yeah.
It's no longer arcades being superior with graphics and gameplay and everything. Consoles are catching up. So we played a ton of games like that. Trying to think if there was another one that he had, but those are the main ones. Mario Party. Did you play have
Mario Party
Parties?
2. I have Mario Party 2 complete in box still.
Do you?
Yeah. I love that's my favorite one in the series. I love that game.
We had, I think,
because
you had
of one
or
game,
two.
Bumper Balls. It's my favorite
What's that one?
Mario Party game. Bumper Balls is literally where you've got 4 people, they're on the balls, and you're just bumping into each other, trying to bump each other off the platform. That's it. That's the whole game. And it cracks me up every time.
I think he rented that game. I don't think he owned it, but I remember the night that he rented it, we played it pretty extensively. We had a lot of fun with that. So
when I saw that, I still had the box for it because I found like years ago, I found at my parents' place in my old bedroom, I found a whole bunch of just boxed games that I didn't know I had. And it just my heart soared because I was so excited to find this stuff.
That's one of those game series that I think has, to me, it's gotten worse over the years because there's too much text, too many rules. It's like, just put a game board out there. Let me roll a dice. Let's do some mini games and then keep going. You know,
there's some great games in there and there's some really not great games in there.
Yeah.
Like for instance, I would not recommend the Wii U one. I think that's probably the worst one in the series.
It is.
One game that I have no experience with whatsoever, but I know is very popular. I don't know if you have any experience with it. Banjo-Kazooie.
I really don't. I know I've played it on the rare replay, but that's about it.
I didn't even play it there yet.
Have you?
I would like to, because that game is super, super beloved.
Yeah. That's one of those games that I think just because my friend didn't have it, I didn't have any experience with it, and I never really felt the need to play it. Same with the Zelda games. He didn't have either one of the Zelda games. So my first experience with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask was on the GameCube when they re-released them.
The dual pack thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I played all the way through Ocarina of Time and absolutely adored that game. Even then, like after the fact, I'm in the new console generation, I still thought Ocarina of Time was
it didn't feel as dated at that point. You play it now, it feels pretty dated.
Didn't. You're right. But it did. Like I played it before I got Wind Waker. I remember I was hyped up for Wind Waker, ready to jump into that game. So I got that dual pack to prep myself for it. And I think it may have been even like a
Did you play Majora's Mask?
Yes, but I couldn't get past the part early on in the game when you got the Deku mask and you got to jump from lily pad to lily pad. That part right there seems to be the part in the game where I always stop. I don't know why. Like whatever it is, maybe it's a challenging area. I remember it's kind of, you have to go back and forth and trying to do certain things, and I don't know. And by that time, I was already fatigued with the village area because when you're in the town, getting through the town, like I didn't want to be the Deku Link anymore. I just wanted to be regular.
It takes
Link.
A while. Yeah.
Yes, it does. It's slow to start.
Yeah.
And I just remember going through there and trying to figure out how in the heck I get this mask off and how I just can go kill things with my damn sword. That's all I wanted to do. So it didn't really appeal to me. I would love to go back and try again.
I made it really far in that game, but I just got so fed up with the 3-day timer thing that I just didn't want to deal with it anymore.
That's
the only thing that stopped me.
That's another aspect of the game that just really, I think, brings it down for me. But that being said, I know it's loved by a lot of people. I'd love to give it another shot.
It's apparently like the most story heavy out of all of them.
It was definitely.
I don't remember much about it, but yes, yeah. Man, if you ever want to piss me off and not make me want to play your game or even finish your game, put a timer in there. Give me a time limit because that's an immediate turn off for me.
I agree 100%. I don't want the stress of having to meet or do something quickly.
Yep.
But the game does appeal to me a lot just because of the dark nature of it. Like playing it, I felt the doom and gloom. Like I felt the impact of the moon crashing into the earth. Like this is a really big deal, you know, and just the game in general just felt creepy. And I like that vibe. That's definitely unique for a Zelda game.
Cool. So, all right, I'm going off script here a little bit.
Okay.
The beer that you have that you were drinking, I'm sure it's gone by now.
Yeah. All gone.
What Nintendo 64 game would you pair that with?
All right. Oh man. You had to go there. Okay, so it's kind of a stout. It's a very dark, fully flavored beer. It's like a coffee. It's like I'm drinking a coffee.
Okay.
I'm thinking something relaxing. Something where you can just sit and savor the beer and savor the gameplay. I'm gonna go. Actually, you know, it sounds weird considering we just talked about it. I'm gonna go with like a Zelda game, probably Majora's Mask. I could see myself sipping on a beer like this. It's got that dark flavor. It's got the, it's a full flavored. I think this beer would go really well with Majora's Mask, and specifically just because like I can sit there, focus on the game, focus on what I'm doing, focus on the world, and really get immersed into the world. And I think this beer would help me with that.
Yep.
Fair enough. About you?
Okay. So I was thinking about it, and the Hopfish, it's an IPA, so it's hoppy. It's got some bite to it. And it's not going to be for everybody, but I think if you like that style, if you like IPAs, I think it's a really good one. Just like if you like racing games in any capacity, especially like a Mario Kart type game, you will love Diddy Kong Racing.
I don't have any experience with that game.
Oh my God, it's so good. Just imagine Mario Kart with a hub world.
Yeah.
And you can also have airplanes and hovercrafts.
See, that's cool.
In addition to cars. Cool. And they're all racing on the same tracks, like at the same time. You just have different paths you take through each level while you're racing and stuff. It's so much fun. Easily. I mean, I just did a video recently about my top 5 underappreciated games, and it's on there. I adore that game so much. My friends who I introduced me to Blast Corps, they're the ones that introduced me to Diddy Kong Racing as well. And I was like, how do people not know more about this game?
Yeah.
What the heck? And they're like, I don't know, man. And I still to this day, I'm just like blown away that it doesn't have a bigger following, because it's so much fun. But that's where I would pair that.
They also re-released that game on the Nintendo DS. Have you played that version?
Did they really?
Yeah.
Diddy Kong Racing?
Yeah, they have it on the Nintendo DS. I don't have it. I want to get it, but
I didn't know that.
I think that might be a better fit for me if I were to try it.
What does it go for? No, I'm curious.
It's not expensive. I think it's probably $20-$30 game.
Diddy Kong Racing DS. No joke.
Yeah.
Kart only for $13.
Yeah.
Complete box. Yeah, you can get it for $23. Wow.
Yeah. I might have to pick that one up. That's one I don't have.
No, I had no idea. Oh, that game. Oh my God, it's so good. Closing that page because I will pay for it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's such a blast.
You know, I'd like to kind of shift gears just a little bit and talk about like the collectability of the system. And because for me, I one of the biggest reasons I got into video game collecting was because of the Nintendo 64, surprisingly enough.
Sure.
It's because I didn't own the system. And that was one of the systems that I really enjoyed and had a lot of fun with and always wanted, but never had. So when I got into collecting, one of the biggest things that I wanted to do was get a Nintendo 64 and try to experience that library that, you know, all those games that I missed. So that's why I say my first Nintendo 64 I acquired probably 8 years ago or so. And I bought a lot since then and sold them, but man, I was all about it because even at that time, emulation for the Nintendo 64 wasn't great, and it still really isn't. It's a lot better than it was, but I couldn't emulate that stuff, so I had to go out and find the carts. And so I remember like going out and chasing some of these games, and a lot of the common ones were easy to find. The Mario Karts, the Super Mario 64, the Goldeneye was everywhere. Wave Race was everywhere. So those were all easy ones to acquire games for. So I went after ones that were a little bit harder, like Mischief
Mario
Makers.
Kart was everywhere and it never went down in price.
Yeah, right. Mischief Makers was one that I remember I was after for a while, and finally acquired that one. That's a lot of fun. I've only played a little bit of it since acquiring it, but it's a very unique game. Have you played that one yet?
I've not.
It's a 2D platformer, but it's got this swing mechanic where you would attach like a grappling hook or something to a point, swing around, throw yourself up in the air, and then attach to another point. And
interesting.
So on. It's different, and it's a lot of fun. Another one was like Yoshi's Island or Yoshi 64, or whatever it was called, Yoshi's Story. Kirby. I never played the Kirby game.
The Crystal Shards?
Yeah.
I want that game. I have not played it, but I think it looks really, really fun, and I want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another one that I had a hard time acquiring. I do have it now, but I've only barely played it. What else was there? There was a few others that were kind of challenging for me to get a hold of. Were there any that was Nintendo 64 inspiration for collecting for you at all?
No, I never really I've never gone hunting for N64 games. It's always been just if I see something out in the wild, it's like, oh, I remember playing this game, I'll grab it. Or oh, hey, I always wanted to try this, and I'll grab it. It's never been like a focal point as far as what things that I need to get. I'm kind of, especially with the older like NES and Super Nintendo, and I could probably talk about this a little bit more on the next episode that we do, given the topic. But I'm a part of me is tempted to sell off my NES and Super NES collections for the most part, other than the games that mean the most to me, because I can emulate them so easily, and I can put them on my classic systems, just to save the space, get a little bit of cash and whatnot. But I don't know yet. And Nintendo 64 eventually, hopefully, will be the same kind of deal.
Yeah.
So, but no, it's never been a focal point for me as far as collecting.
That's kind of you mentioned something that's kind of got me thinking, like selling off your games. Are these childhood games that you're thinking of selling, or
that's what I'm saying is like the ones that mean the most to me. Like I would never sell like Final Fantasy 3, Final Fantasy 2, that kind of stuff like that. But games that like my Kid Clown, Gun Neck on NES and stuff like that, those are worth a lot that I can get a lot for that I have no interest really in playing that much. And it's just taking up space at this point. So I could do that. And if I wanted to play it, if I got desperate enough, I could just throw it on my NES Classic or something.
I'm with you there. I think I would do the same, especially with like Kid Clown or something. I have no nostalgia for that game and no real desire to own it. So I think I would be right with you on trying to sell it. If there's any other games that you have in there that I may be interested.
Well, hold on. I haven't pulled the trigger on this. Like I said, next episode we'll talk about it. You are actually like this will get a little bit dark, but my mom is very, very like proactive when it comes to preparing for the worst. Yes. So like anytime I leave out of town, if I go on a flight somewhere or something like that, she makes sure that I have like given her a list of contacts for what to do with Locke or Locke's my cat. What to do with my collection, my insurance, all that stuff and everything, my passwords to my computer and bank account and everything like that. And you are like, I told her to reach out to you and gave her your contact info about my collection. I was like, first off, don't just say, hey, show me how to sell this stuff. First thing you're going to want to do is, he'll be fair with you, but let him know like, hey, you get your pick of the litter. You can have some of this stuff, just for helping me out with this. And then you would get your pick of, whatever you wanted out of it to help her, sell off the rest of it and whatnot. So
that's funny that you say that, and it's actually that's a really good thing for her to be mindful of. Amy and I have talked about the same thing, and you are the point of contact for me.
Seriously?
If anything, yes.
That's funny.
Yes, because you're the only person I know who's into this stuff and understands the values and things as much as I do. So yeah, that's funny. You are the point of contact if anything were to happen to me.
I told her I was like, just give him a few things that he wants. Don't charge him for it or anything like that. Just be like, you can have X amount worth in games, to help me out and do this and stuff, and he'll point you in the right direction.
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, to get back on the subject of collecting for the N64, I've since acquired, I don't know how many games I have at this point, probably like, I don't know, between 50 and 100. Not a ton.
Oh, wow. I don't have that many. Shoot.
Well, the system doesn't have that many games to begin with. I think there's 300 and something total games on the system. I could be off on that number, but I know it's a very low number.
So it's not like the PS2?
No, not even close. So I have most of the well-known, fun, popular games, right?
Sure.
With the exception of a few, like I don't have Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Me neither. Yeah.
I don't have. I think that's it. Like as far as like games that I can think of that are really popular,
the big ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I have most of them. So, and it's fun. Like whenever Owen, my son, is he wants to come in and play a game. He really likes Mario 64, so we'll pop that in and play together. And that's kind of like the classic console that he and I can play together and have a good time with. Still holds up quite well for multiplayer stuff. So
okay. So then before we wrap up the whole shebang, I have one last question for you. Let's say Nintendo did say like, hey, we're going to be starting to release N64 games on the Switch now that you can play, and you can have it has the online capabilities where you can do that stuff. What are 2 games that you would like to see them do?
So actually, I've already heard rumors, rumors are rumors. I don't know how valid they are, that there's rumors that the
keep in mind our first video together was the top 5 games we'd like to see on a Nintendo 64 Classic, which never happens. We have no idea.
But there are rumors that the both Zelda games are going to be part of this if they were to release the N64 games on the Club Nintendo or whatever they call it. Nintendo.
I could see them doing that as like a disc, like they have with the Super Mario 64 Sunshine.
They should. They absolutely should, but I don't think they will. I think they're going to be more likely if they're going to launch this N64 online, similar to the Super Nintendo NES.
Okay.
Those games have to be on there. I mean, there's not a vast library on there, so you got to get the ones that are.
Is that what you want, though? What would be the top 2 that you would want
that I
personally?
Want? Mario Kart for sure. Mario Kart and Mario 64. Pretty simple. Those are the 2 that I would want the most.
Okay.
Those are the ones that I have the most nostalgia for. Those are the ones that even today, if I turn on my Nintendo 64, it's either one of those 2 games that I pop in almost every time.
Yeah.
What about you?
I would say GoldenEye and probably Star Fox.
Really?
Yep.
GoldenEye, I don't think GoldenEye holds up very well. I have played that recently.
I agree with you, but I think just for the nostalgia factor and people like... I love seeing people get excited about things that they have good memories with.
Yeah.
And so if they announce something like that, I know that there's a lot of people that I personally know who don't own Switches or anything like that, who if I told that to, they'd be like, really? They're going to, oh my gosh, seriously? And they'd be so excited. And that's the kind of stuff that really gets to me. And I would really like to see that. And Star Fox 64 is just because I would love to see that. And I would love to go toe-to-toe with people online.
Star Fox 64 is a great choice. That game holds up really well. I've played that since acquiring my Nintendo, and that one definitely holds up.
I mean, I would solid be cool choice with Diddy Kong Racing as well, but Mario Kart 64 is obviously a really solid choice too, and it would be a no-brainer, quite frankly.
Yeah. I think if they were to do it, and realistically, if this was the thing that they were gonna that was gonna happen, I think they would have probably between 5 and 10 games. They wouldn't have too many on there, but I can almost guarantee you Mario Kart, Mario 64, both Zelda games, and then probably, I don't know, Wave Race or something. So, we didn't even talk about Smash. How did we miss that? How would we
Smash
miss
Brothers? What is there to say?
That was such a okay. Before we close out, I want to talk about my experience with that game just a little
Fair
bit.
Enough. Okay.
My buddy did have that game, and we did play it quite a bit. But I remember, no, he didn't have it. He didn't have it. Okay, sorry, I'm remembering things wrong now. I remember that game, seeing it in magazines and stuff, and being like, "What? What are they doing? They're making a fighting game with all these Nintendo characters." I was blown away by the concept. This didn't seem like a thing that could happen.
Yeah.
So when it came out, I really wanted to play it, and I asked my buddy if I could borrow his Nintendo 64, and he let me. So I took it for a weekend, went to Blockbuster, rented Smash Bros, and played it the whole weekend. And I remember getting through the weekend and thinking, okay, that was fun. I'm okay if I never play this game again. It was very bare bones, very basic.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, it probably would have been a lot better had I had my friends to play with me. I think I played it with my brother, but he wasn't very good. And so
it wasn't the deepest game in the world, but it was definitely the start of something pretty damn impressive.
Yes.
I remember seeing the TV commercials for it, where it was just Mario and Pikachu fighting, and then Yoshi would come in, and they're like beating the crap out of each other. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Is this game just Nintendo characters beating the crap out of each other? And then it came out, and I was like, oh, that's exactly sure enough, that's exactly what it is. Okay. It was just another one of those fun little, like, literally just beat the crap out of your friends in this goofy fighting game. It was a fighting game for people who didn't like fighting games, quite frankly. Not that I didn't like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. I love those games, don't get me wrong, but I did not devote the time to those that I should have in order to get like really, really good. I just played them. I would play the single player story mode and call it a day. Maybe every now and then play with a friend of mine or something, but I'm not crazy about super competitive type stuff. But Smash Brothers just made it fun, made it quirky, made it to where you didn't care if you lost. If you got a sweet kill, like at some point you got an awesome smash at some point in the match, that's all you really cared about. You just wanted to see just Nintendo characters coming on there and just punching each other in the face and just having a ball, just doing that. And that's what it boiled down to. Nintendo's always been great about just coming out with things you didn't know you wanted, but then they do it and you're like, oh, okay. Which, is funny of me to say because I also give them a lot of crap for coming out with things that I didn't know I wanted that I still don't want, like motion controls and bull crap, but they're, they have obviously some amazing ideas, and it's always cool to see what they come up with, even if it is, a dumpster fire in some cases. And Smash Bros was just one of those things where you played it and you were like, this is the start of something special. I can tell.
I had the opposite reaction. It's funny you say that, because when it came out, it felt like such a unique one-off type thing to me. Like this is a cool concept that I don't think has legs.
We'll never see another one of these.
It was so weird and off the wall, and it felt very of the time to me, very 90s to me. So yeah, if you would have asked me back then if that game would be like one of Nintendo's flagship titles, hell no. I did not think that game had legs at all. So
see, when I would play that with my friends and stuff, and our minds would just go, our imaginations would run wild. Like, oh, they could implement this character, and they could have this guy come in, and the next game could have this one. And we just, and that, you said you pretty much played by yourself or, with one other person for the most part, but I played with a full group almost every time I played it. Yeah. So it was always just conversations coming up with, you play a match, and then you spent an even longer time afterwards talking about what just happened and how funny it was. So we still do that with the newest Smash Brothers. Last year on my birthday, I had, I think 6 guys over, and we just had a big old Smash Brothers tournament. And it was just so much fun because it was just having fun, beating the crap out of each other with these characters and talking about what happened, and it never gets old. I love the series in general. It's great.
We do I'll play Smash Bros with my kids, and we do have a good time with that game for sure.
Oh yeah, we've played online before. That's right.
Yeah, we have. But I mean, that was also a game that introduced me to some characters that I'd never heard of before, like Ness. I'd never heard of Earthbound at that point in time. So
see, I saw Ness in there and I was like, what the hell is Ness doing in this game? Do people even know who he is?
yeah,
Like, because I loved
not me.
Earthbound from Super Nintendo. Yeah, that's still mind-boggling to me that they chose him to be in that game.
Yeah.
Oh,
We even like with the Fire Emblem characters in the next game, nobody knew who they were.
Yep.
But
I'm glad they
All
did that
right.
though, because it drew attention to these other characters and people played these new other games and whatnot. So
I think Smash Bros is one of the biggest reasons why Nintendo is as big as they are today. They were able to take their characters and put them into different light and really grow your connection to them. And
you're right.
I think so. Well,
For sure.
You have anything else to say on the subject?
I don't. Happy 25, Nintendo 64. That's crazy. Take a break, people. Go play your Nintendo 64, bust it out, have some fun, get like 2, 3 of your friends and just do some couch gaming and have fun with it, because man, that system is so great. And it's I hope we're able to continue playing those games in the future, and we don't run into, well, that's next episode. We'll talk. What are we talking about next episode? Why don't you go ahead and say that real quick?
Okay. So next episode, there's been a lot of news about video games and prices of video games and grading and investing, and just it's crazy right now. So especially with the sale of the Mario 64 sealed copy for $1.5 million, which is absolutely insane and relevant to what we're talking about today. So next episode, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the subject and talk about graded games and games as an investment, and give our takes and opinions on where games are going and how it's changing and altering our hobby. So
can you retire off your video game collection? No, probably not.
I think you can. Yeah, I think you can.
What?
I mean,
really?
If you have the right sealed games, I absolutely think.
Oh, if you have the right sealed, yeah, absolutely. I think the average collector, though, yeah.
I think every collector out there is gonna have a sealed game. You got a sealed game. Tell me you got a sealed game.
I don't. I do, but like PS4, so it's not really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I guarantee you, I'll be playing it at some point, so it really doesn't matter.
I think the vast. No, I'm not going to go that far, but I do think a lot of collectors, especially collectors who've been collecting for a long time, probably have a sealed gem in there from 20 years ago or further. I don't know.
I collect to play. I don't collect to make money. So that's kind of
that's true.
That's going to be part of what we're talking about. So
yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. It's going to be a fun conversation. I'm really looking forward to it. So tune in for that. JJ, where can they find you, man?
You can find me at Game Room Revival on YouTube. Just Game Room Revival. Do a search for that. I should be the only one that pops up. So check it out. You can see the video version of this podcast, as well as videos that I do. I am very close to being done with my list of 20 games for the year. I'm on the last one right now, and then I will be starting to put together the one for next year. And I've got a really cool idea that I may have nobody who's interested in doing this at all, but it's something I want to do, and I'm gonna put it out there. I'll announce it when I make the video and stuff. But if people are interested and they do end up, it could be really cool. We'll just say that. So
you got to fill me in. You got to fill me
in. So we'll see how that goes. Other than that, on Twitter, JJ Santinello. Just go to Game Room Revival, look in the video description, you'll find links to both of our Twitters in there. I'm not going to spell it this time. It's been like, only one episode, so I got to spell it after like 5.
That's the goal there. You can find me on Twitter as well. I'm at Birdazoid, BIRDAZOID. That's where I am. I also have a YouTube channel, same name. I don't post too frequently, but I do have some things up there. But yeah, that's going to do it. So as always, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'm trying to remember how to do this.
You got it.
Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Spotify or iTunes or wherever the audio podcast can be found, wherever you listen to us. Leave us some 5-star reviews. That would be
Please. Yes.
super
It'd be great.
But yeah. So, as always, keep on gaming.